Good evening. This regular school board meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act. In compliance with this order and in response to the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, the district will be conducting this evening's Board of Education meeting as a teleconference. Please use the following phone number to call in. That is 6699009128, meeting ID 844-8021-7266, password 355293. Or you may join on a computer. The link is on our website at TUSD.org. The board agenda is also available online at our website. Public comments can be submitted prior to 3 p.m. on the day of board meetings by completing the appropriate submission form at TUSD.org/BOE/board-meetings under quick links on the webpage. Participants must be logged into the meeting via the Zoom link published above or by dialing in. Your Zoom participant name or phone number must match the name or phone number entered on the form so that you may be accurately identified. The guidelines for public comment will be in accordance with Board Policy 2350. A reasonable accommodation for any individual with a disability can be made by contacting my office at 310-972-6001 or fax 310-972-6012. Thank you, Mrs. Liu, and I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Stowe. We just came from closed session and there's nothing to report. I'm calling the meeting to order. We're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance now. Vice President James Han, would you like to lead us on the pledge?
Sure, let's please arise. And please repeat right hand of your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty
for all.
Oh.
Okay, let's move on. Item number 6, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda.
I second that motion.
Great, all in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I think it's unanimous. Motion passes. Number 8, staff presentation and information. Report by student representative. Dr. Ben Egan, do you have somebody here?
I do. Good evening, Mrs. Liu, members of the board. It's my pleasure to introduce Armin Baglioni from Torrance High, ASB president. And Armin, why don't you go ahead and share with everyone some good news about Torrance High?
Okay, good evening, everyone. So right now at Torrance High, we're just doing a few things, just a few new things. And right now we're just doing a top 30 for all of our seniors, just to give them that homecoming effect. And then we're also working on a virtual Spirit Week for next week. And we even posted a publicity video about it on our Instagram already. And that's about all we're working on that's new right now. Thank you.
Dr. Gerson?
I'd like to ask our student representative a question, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot. So Representative Baglioni, can you tell us a little bit about just how classes are going for you? What's virtual class like, and how are you and your friends doing?
Virtual classes are going pretty good. Teachers have done a pretty nice job of just trying to interact with us a little bit more, keeping us in after class, just talking to us a little bit more personally, just to give us that like real classroom effect and like real like, oh, we're trying to help you guys learn, we're trying to help you guys succeed feel. So online classes have been going good, and the teachers have just done a phenomenal job, just keeping us motivated, just keeping us in there all the time, just doing our best.
Thank you for sharing.
That's great. May I ask you another question about clubs and extracurricular activities? Have you guys, are most students active during this time?
Clubs have been a little bit harder, but there still have been things like, for example, today I had an NHS meeting, and we're still doing volunteer hours just online, and we're still tutoring students. So clubs have still been running. And I know there have been like culture clubs who have still been like just teaching things through the cultures, because I'm part of the South Asian Culture Club. So clubs have been running pretty nice and smooth. So it's been a pretty nice thing to see.
That's great. Thank you for your report. We'll move to item 8.2, interim superintendent's report. Dr. Stowe?
Thank you, Mrs. Liu and board members. Armin, great job. I think I'll turn my presentation over to you and you can take it from there. We'll talk more about reopening and some of the other things regarding that and what's been in the news today in our next item. But this report really is just to celebrate some good things and share with the board what's happening in TUSD and share some other items of interest. So the first week of February was National Counseling Week. The board did a resolution, and this year more than any other, I want to recognize the counselors for all the work that they do with our students and families, keeping them engaged and working in some with some tough situations. We did have kind of a fun event. Fern counselor Eric Doherty, who does overtime as Fernie the Falcon, was featured on the CBS News for strengthening home to school connections during distance learning. That was a fun piece that CBS came out and did. And great job to Eric and the principal, Dr. Michael Remlin, for all the work that they do in visiting students at their homes and presenting awards and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. The PTA, Torrance Council of PTAs had their annual PTA Honorary Service Award breakfast / luncheon, I guess, that you had to bring your own food to. And they recognized some folks for Honorary Service Award, but one group in particularly I'd like to point out is the Building Bridges Collaborative, received the HSA Award from Torrance Council. This is a TUSD student services project developed to streamline and leverage available resources in the district and the community to benefit our students. We've actually a few months ago, they were able to highlight some of the work that they're doing. And again, a big thank you to Nancy Gutierrez and Nettie Leolo for all of their work and for all the partners that they have brought in to help provide services and support to students. Last week, I went down to the corner of Manhattan Avenue and Manhattan Beach Boulevard and received, along with TEF representatives, a check for $257,000 from the Skechers Walk. This is the largest amount that TUSD has ever raised in the Skechers Walk. We were the top virtual walker district in the South Bay. And so big thank you to site leaders who stepped up this year and really elevated their game to get people to participate in this all virtual walk. We really hope to have this event in person next year, but it's great to have bragging rights in the South Bay being the top district and the top fundraiser in this year's event. We had our first dual immersion parent meeting last week. Over 150 parents attended, maybe some students as well, to hear from Dr. Crumpy and some others regarding the new dual immersion program approved by the board a couple of weeks ago at Carr and Torrance Elementary. We had one session in English and another session in Spanish. Both of the sessions really were very well attended and provided parents an overview. We had a representative from Culver City who is in charge of those programs and has been a principal at a dual immersion program that was able to really speak to the kind of work and the kind of experience that students would have. So more to come on that. I'd like to recognize a former colleague of mine when I was a teacher at Magruder, Glenn Comita, who's one of our elementary music teachers. He received the 2021 Outstanding Elementary School Educator Award from the Southern California School and Orchestra Association. So congratulations to Glenn. He teaches a lot of students ukulele, among other things. I was in a classroom on Friday over at Edison, and the principal was talking about how Glenn zooms in on the big screen TV in the classroom, and all the students, they still have the ukuleles laid out on the desks. They practice ukulele. So it's a great COVID activity that students can participate, there in the classroom. We have some upcoming elementary school distance learning parent nights in helping parents to get some information on how to better support their students in distance learning. So we have sessions on February 23rd and 25th, and again, March 2nd as well. And Dr. Crumpy at the March 1st board meeting, 2 weeks from yesterday, she'll be doing a presentation on the distance learning program. So I know that you all are looking forward to that, and hopefully that will answer some questions and provide you information on the DL program. Two topics of interest to, I know, a lot of our employees and the board and community members. Vaccines first. This year we're still in the waiting mode and waiting for the supply of vaccines to become available. Even Kaiser sent a note to its members this past week that they have 9.3 million members and are only receiving 40,000 shots per week. So, right now they are, as you know, going to healthcare workers and those age 65 plus. Today in a news call, Dr. Ferrer said that teachers will be getting vaccines beginning on March 1st. And we are ready with the Torrance City Fire Department to provide those as soon as possible. Dr. Butler's been working with them very closely, as well as having a backup with the Beach Cities Health District, whoever can produce these shots sooner, or both. That we'll take whatever we can get. But again, is very prevalent in the news. The demand is definitely outstripping the supply at this point in time. So we hope that educators and those that are working in schools with students can get their vaccines soon. And then finally, testing. We are registered with the state-run Valencia branch lab. As soon as surveillance testing is mandated by the state upon how many students are returning and the county case rates, we are ready to proceed with that. That's been a topic of interest as well. So there's a lot happening in TUSD, but again, I want to continue to praise all of the work of our staff and students. Armin gave a great example of what it looks like from a student perspective in what they are able to do in making the most of a challenging year. So that is all I've got in my report. Thank you, President Liu. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Stowe. That was a great report. We have so many things going on all the time, pandemic or not. So that's wonderful. Next item is item number 9, oral communications. And my understanding is there are no oral communications for unscheduled hearings. All of the requests have fall under 10.2. So we'll address those when we get there. Item number 10, discussion and action item. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda topics have also completed the appropriate submission form on the district website. Please be advised that the time allotted for public comments on agenda items is limited to 3 minutes per comment. Time allotted for each agenda item is 30 minutes per topic. As you know, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. Thank you. 10.2, reopening update. Dr. Stowe?
All right, back to me. If Mr. Mara, if you wouldn't mind putting the slideshow up on the screen. So obviously there was quite a bit of attention paid to the announcement that was made last night on regarding the return of students and the case rate. So we'll get to some of that a little bit, but again, I first, love some of these pictures. This is the Seaside Elementary students back in the kindergarten yard, and having had the opportunity to visit quite a number of schools and classrooms in the past few weeks, seeing them back on campus and hearing from our staff and talking with some of the students, that they're just having a great time being back. So we brought back, as you know, the TKK and first grade students again on February 1st. They had originally began in Gil, you want to forward the slide, please? TK and K originally came back on December 7th and first grade on January 4th, but were asked by the county to pause. And so after that Saturday night board meeting in January, the board agreed to comply with that request from the DPH. And so these students got to come back again on February 1st, and it was very exciting. The second graders returned on February 11th and went very smoothly. Today was their third day back, if I'm correct. And just, visiting 6 different elementaries on Friday, we could tell that they were right in the swing of things and doing a great job and enjoying being back on campus. So for the last 6 months, just to provide some context for the board, because tonight we do want to talk about the return of grades 3 through 5. So the last 6 months, we've had weekly calls with the Department of Public Health. And these are all the 80 districts in LA County with either Dr. Ferrer or Dr. Gilchek, who are able to address us on Thursday mornings. And in these calls, we usually get some the latest information, answers to questions that we're able to submit online, and then also some opportunity for live calls and questions. So in our call last week, we were told that the case rate was at 31.7, and that they were hoping that the number would continue to drop in the coming weeks, and that we would find out on Tuesday, today, what the new number is or would be, because it was dropping over the course of the last few weeks. So our planning was all based on the information we received from the DPH on Thursday, because of the need to put this agenda together and begin planning if this information was to change. And so we found ourselves in quite a situation last night when via Twitter found out that Supervisor Janice Hahn, said the case rate was below 25, because that's the number we're hoping to get to. And in fact, we had been under the guidance from DPH that once that number was announced at 25 or less, then we needed to wait 5 days. And at that point in time, we could open schools. And so it was announced last night by Supervisor Janice Hahn that 5 days had passed and we could open schools. And so much of this news has been hot on the television and radio and in the newspapers. And so we had our regular scheduled board meeting tonight, so it's a good opportunity to talk about that. So we have that second bullet there, we are at that number and of 20 per 100,000 adjusted case rate. And so we are able to bring all of our students TK through 5 at the elementary school back. The language also does say TK to 6. However, after listening to the Dr. Ferrer speak today, it really is meant for elementary schools that have grade 6 or self-contained grade 6, because students can only be in one cohort. And so we'll talk about 6th grade a little bit, but it's a little more complicated. So going to the next slide, as we've gone through our multiple openings and reopenings, we've learned a number of things. And one of them is that you can never be too prepared. We always have to be, take every detail and make sure it's it's solid. And what the schools have, all of our reopenings have gone well. We also know that it's a complete team effort from individuals at the site, at the district, parents, students. Everybody plays a role in this safe reopening, which we have done, as one principal noted to me today in a meeting. She's reopened schools 7 times so far this year. So the principals have shared feedback that also that adding a grade level at a time is challenging for many reasons, and that therefore they would like all grades when it was allowed, which it now is, to come back at the same time. So that would be 3 through 5 at the same time. We also heard from parents with students in multiple grades that that's been an issue as well. So I think there are a lot of parents out there that have students in different grades, and reopening all 3 at the same time would be advantageous to them for childcare, transportation, all kinds of things. One additional piece that we learned from coming back on Thursday, the 11th, was that allowed teachers and staff more time in their rooms to prepare technology and get ready so that we could have a planning day on that Wednesday prior to a physical reopening. Coming back on a Monday resulted in a number of teachers needing to work all weekend in their rooms. People think, well, it's only computer and a screen or whatever it is that they have, but walking into these classrooms, you'd be amazed at what the teachers have set up in their room to maximize that in-person feel for students. And so it really is a special thing to see. And so when thinking about coming back on a Thursday, we really want to try to make sure our staff don't have to take any more time on a weekend away from their families that they already do. And so that's the additional piece for the Thursday. So what does that mean? In light of all of these factors, what we are recommending to the board and kind of seeking direction from you is that we plan for grades 3 to 5 to return on Thursday, March 4th, because we feel that this date meets the needs of students, families, school staff, and is in compliance with the DPH orders. I mean, we're doing everything safely. All of the protocols are in place. We're even piloting our own screening app that to utilize what we learned from the Beach Cities health screener that Mr. Mara and IT have gone into the app development business. And so we're piloting that at a few schools here this week to hopefully have that ready to go on a broader scale for March 4th. So 6th grade in itself is, again, it's a different ballgame because of students moving classes and not being self-contained, and the guidelines that require still students to be in one cohort is very challenging. And so Dr. Egan is continuing to look at what other districts are doing, both in LA and other counties, as well as meeting with middle school principals to talk about options, which we would ultimately bring back to the board at a future meeting. So with that is, I guess now the conversation with the board to provide direction based on this feedback.
Thank you for your presentation, Superintendent Stowe. Are there any oral communications under this 10.2 item under reopening update?
I think Mr. Mara has 5 names. So Gil, if you want to call them.
The first I have, let's see, Ryan Rasson. Go ahead, Ryan, you can mic up.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for public service. Like I always say, it's a thankless gig. And the fact that you're doing it means that we are not. And I just want to reiterate as a parent with some kids that, Dr. Stowe, I love what you just said. You're seeking direction from our board. And the thing about you who are board members is we're grateful for your service. We're also grateful when you stand up and make those decisions. I don't really care what Janice Hahn is tweeting. I don't care what Janice Hahn has to say. I think Dr. Ferrer is really interesting.
I don't see the staff at the County Department of Public Health asking you all a whole lot. And I don't see the PDFs with the consensus and voice from all of you signing a letter together saying, hey, County of Los Angeles, here's where we come down here in Torrance. I don't see you writing letters to the Assemblyman, Elmer Succi, who is instead trying to take power away from you and just give it to the County Department of Public Health. I don't see the letters to Senator Ben Allen, to Gavin Newsom, and it would be nice to see more of that. It's kind of like with education, whose job is it ultimately to be responsible for our children and whether they're learning? It's you all. Now, thankfully, a lot of us have these amazing teachers in our lives, like Karen Elder at Riviera and the principal, Christy Forche. Stephanie Cutshaw and Amy Sayers at Richardson have been lifesavers for us. But those teachers, as talented as they are, the best learning, as I've seen it, is going to occur in person. But where are the assessments? Where's the point of view on the learning? Let's talk more about whether or not they're learning at all. You know, remember those old stories about testing irregularities? Like the state would throw out tests if teachers didn't cover up the ABCs on the wall. Well, where's that level of rigor about, are our children learning? So please, everything you can do to give Dr. Stowe direction about, let's get more of our kids back in school, middle school, high school, sports, please. Thank you very much. And thank you for serving.
Thank you. Next, I have Lily Rasson. Go ahead, Lily.
Hi, my name is Lily Razan, and I'm in 8th grade at Richardson Middle School, but I'm going to be honest, mine and my friends' lives are not too bad. We surf sometimes in the morning and go on bike rides after school, but that is not the case for most kids. Also, we may be having fun, but are we learning anything? No, we haven't been learning anything since March 13th, the day when we thought we would be out of school for 2 weeks because of some pandemic, but now it's been a whole year and a half of online school. All of the 8th graders probably won't see the inside of Richardson classrooms ever again. We are going to South next year, and that also means we might have to spend our freshman year on a computer, which makes things especially stressful since it's a brand new school with new teachers and new higher expectations. If we don't get back to school by next year, that's 2 years of sitting at home on a computer, listening to teachers talk, and sitting there for 6 hours of our day, and then sometimes being assigned even more work, which means we sit at our computers for more than 7 hours a day. By the way, the only thing teachers and parents wanted us to do these last couple years was to get off of our phones and computers. But now we're pretty much on them 24/7, and nobody seems to be complaining about that now. In-person school was by far more beneficial. If you didn't understand, then you could ask your teachers for help, and the teachers could see you struggling in the classroom. But now everyone turns off their camera and mutes, and it's nerve-wracking to seem like you're the only one who doesn't understand the lesson, when in reality, everyone is just too scared to unmute. I respect all of you in this Zoom, but I think kids need to be back in school actually learning things instead of sitting at home suffering. And since I have extra time, my friend Reese is going to say some things.
Hi, my name is Reese Leeser, and I'm in 8th grade at Richardson Middle School, and I'm adding on to what Lily said. I think that we are not learning as much as we should, and instead, we are all just learning on how to cheat our way through our school year. And once we go back to school, if we ever do, we will be behind and clueless, needing help. We also need to go back to school for the sake of our futures. Since most of us are cheating our way through, we will never develop actual skills in these subjects, which causes us not to get a good grades, and in high school, which makes our college applications look horrible. I respect you all, but please put myself and all of the millions of kids suffering back in school for the sake of our educations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily and Reese. Next, we have Lucy Gates. Go ahead, Lucy.
Hello, I'm Lucy Gates, and I'm in 8th grade. There's no reason for Torrance students should continue to suffer by not being back in school. There are 2 federal vaccines FDA approved. Why are we not back in school? Malls are open, and even Disneyland is opening soon. Both short-term and long-term damage from isolation will take years and years to repair. The teachers and faculty members were forced into an unproven and untried academic system that is failing their students. I'm an honor roll student and I'm learning nothing. I will not be prepared for my high school years. There's a large group of students planning a mass exodus into an open school district. We must be opened.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Next, Deb Tabush. Go ahead, Deb.
Thanks, Gil. Good evening, President Liu, school board members, Dr. Stowe, cabinet, and the Torrance High School student representative. Deborah Tabush, President of Torrance Teachers Association, 1619 Cravens Avenue. With the discussion tonight regarding plans of reopening elementary sites beyond TK2, it is going to be essential that the safety protocols currently in place remain and are followed without any exceptions. With more students and staff on campuses, the health and safety of everyone must continue to be the highest priority. Communication needs to be accurate and transparent. I have continuously advocated that our district provides our school community and the community at large with a COVID-19 platform that would allow everyone to see what is happening at the schools within Torrance Unified. If this platform is going to be successful and foster trust, then it has to be accurate and updated in a more timely manner. It is currently being updated once a week, but I am hoping that with more students and teachers on campuses that you would consider updating it daily. With the information being updated each day, it would allow for everyone to know what exactly is happening in real time. The most recent update on February 12th indicates that there are currently 17 cases within the district. Yet the chart breaking down the cases by sites only shows a total of 5 cases, leaving one to wonder what information is correct or not. This is vital information and needs to be completely accurate. With more students and staff on campuses, being vaccinated is going to be imperative for the health and safety of our students, staff, and the community of Torrance. Thank you, Mrs. Betty Liu, for your joint letter to help get teachers vaccinated with the school board presidents from locals around us. This is going to be imperative, so please work to get us vaccinated. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. I'm looking for a Reese here, but I don't see that person on. So.
I think she already spoke, Gil, as part of that other one.
Oh, Reese with Lily. Okay, got it. Didn't put it together. All right, that's all I have, President Liu.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Marr. So we will now open it up for discussion. Actually, may I have a motion to open up the discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Unanimous, motion passes. Any of the board members, would you like to discuss this topic? Ms. Park?
Yes. So I have a question about what adjustments are being made to the protocols for entering the campuses and on campuses as well, as we are tripling the number of students who are going to be checking in and coming in. What are sort of the protocols that are in place? Have there been adjustments from our TK through second grade returns to campus? And I guess, how is that information being communicated to our students and their families and their staff on the campuses?
Sure, thank you. We're doubling the numbers. So we're going from 3 grade levels to 6, so not tripling. But Dr. Kim, I think, has a lot of that detailed information, not just from our elementary principal meeting today, but him working directly with them over the course of the last several weeks. So Dr. Kim, would you like to talk about some of the specifics at the sites that they're doing?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Stowe. So in a word, the protocols aren't changing because the protocols are meant for a small school, medium-sized school, large school, or whether or not there's a few students, many students there. So the protocols themselves don't necessarily change. However, there are many assessments and adjustments that will be done at all of our elementary school sites as we, as Dr. So said, double the number of students at our elementary schools. So what I did to kind of give an overview and kind of a picture of what's going to happen at our elementary schools in two different conversations with the principal of one of our largest elementary schools, I can tell you that they will have approximately 500 students coming, approximately half in the morning, approximately half in the afternoon. And so if they're able to get organized and look at all the logistics, I believe that all of 17 elementary schools should be able to do the same. So at their particular elementary school, they do plan to serve breakfast to students. And one of the largest reasons for that, besides feeding hungry kids, is that they spread out the oncoming to campus of the students. So at 8:20, breakfast will be available for students. Starting at 8:30, they'll have 5 different gates open in order to spread out the numbers of students that are coming onto campus, and they're staggering their grade levels, not every grade level, but most grade levels between kindergarten and 5th grade between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. They do believe and they're confident that by 9, all the students will be into campus and in class. In order to make certain that protocols such as a student screener are being kept up to date, as Dr. Stowe mentioned, our own ETIS led by Mr. Mara, one of the schools is piloting our own screener app so that we no longer need to use Beach Cities. That's an advantage because then we'll be able to change the questions or other features of the app immediately as opposed to trying to ask someone else to change it for us. So what they're going to be doing is actually having drive-through drop-offs where parents can show the screener app. It'll be the same green screen on a cell phone to show that they've gone through the screening. This will solve the issue of many parents having to park and come onto campus with their student. This way they can just drop them off through a drive-through and it's much faster that way. Even though this is, again, one of our largest elementary schools, they are still planning on doing temperature checks if feasible, and they will start off doing temperature checks. So as the Department of Public Health protocols state, as long as it's feasible to do temperature checks, schools or organizations, they should continue to do them. So their plan is to continue as long as it is feasible. So that's kind of the starting on to campus in the morning, but they also have many other adjustments that they're making throughout the day, spreading out kids so that not large groups, only one cohort at a time is using different apparatus or equipment, and then it's cleaned afterwards. They plan to clean the bathroom approximately every 20 minutes and spread out students and use as many bathrooms as possible. They plan to do the cleaning between the AM and PM cohorts and the disinfection after school is over. As Dr. Stowe mentioned, for our elementary schools, this is their 6th or 7th reopening. So it's kind of old hat to them now. And so all the way starting in October with self-contained special ed classrooms and small learning cohorts, they're very used to these reopenings, and in a way they've become veterans at it. And so I'm very confident they'll all be able to safely and expeditiously get all the students onto campus and into class.
That's great. Anil, Dr. Mohammed?
Thank you so much, President Liu. I had a great opportunity to visit some of our school sites last week. I appreciate Dr. Stowe and the principals for kind of chaperoning me around some of our sites just to make sure I don't get lost. But one of the things that I saw was staff, students, and teachers all engaged in learning in some form or another. And what was really refreshing to see, which is why we're here, is students were actively engaged not only in the content but also with each other. and the ability for them to express and just explore themselves and with one another was just amazing to see that in the classroom. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity to go and visit some of our elementary sites as well as our high school, South High. So thank you for that. One of the things that I did recognize in those visits is the importance of following our protocol. So I appreciate my colleague, Ms. Park, kind of raising the question. And along those lines, what I wanted to just kind of explore more on is in terms of the supplies and adequately, staffed as well, because you are going to have a lot more cleaning, wipe downs, and making sure, we have more temperature checks, because you're doubling the number of students and staff. And so are we adequately prepared for that? Do we have the supplies that we need? Because you're going to be using a lot more of that. And then the third question, which kind of leads into our COVID dashboard, is the protocols that we follow and the quarantine that happens. How does that get about being updated? Is it daily? Is it twice a week? Or can you talk a little bit more about that and provide some clarity? Thank you.
So I think I'll let Dr. Butler take the first two, and maybe Dr. Liberati the third question.
So definitely in terms of supplies, adequacy and usage, we are ready for doubling. We've been tracking the usage through this time and making sure that we do have enough supplies on hand. For example, today, again, we were a little caught by surprise that this would happen so quickly and go so large, but we were even just double checking, do we have backups in terms of plexiglass in case we need some more of those reading stations, and just double checked stock and usage, and brought in 3 other people that have been doing this all the way through, and we all agreed, yeah, we think we're okay on that, no need to order anymore. Same thing with all the chemicals that we've been using to clean with, and PPE, knock wood obviously, but so far so good, and we have projected ahead. We feel that we'll be adequately ready for these. Was that both supply and usage, or was there another piece?
Staffing as well, because I'm sure that there will be a lot more requirement from our teams, M&O and custodial staff, to make sure that we're doing proper wipe downs more frequently. Obviously, you have more students and staff, so just wanted to kind of touch on that as well, if you can.
Sure. Thank you. So on that, we have been clear from the start that when we got back all of our elementary students, even in a hybrid model, we didn't know if we'd be able to do as much of the extra cleaning that we've been doing as we've had time to do so here. So things will be a little bit different as we have more kids back. We're trying to figure out right now what those schedules look like, and it's unlikely we can bring in custodial support from other campuses to get that one spot in the middle of the day when cohorts will be switching. However, the DPH guidance is disinfect it at the end of the day, disinfect once daily, and we have that built in, including the time that it takes once it's disinfected to dry out. Best time to do that is in the evening when there are very few people on campus. So that has always been our protocol. In addition, it's always been our protocol during the day to clean and disinfect where possible high touch areas. So what are the door handles, the drinking faucets, or not drinking faucets because we don't do water fountains anymore, but hand washing faucets. We're going through and doing the cleaning of those touch points throughout the day. That will continue to do so. We don't foresee any issue with being able to keep up on that. The one thing we might not be able to do is disinfect some classrooms in between AM and PM the way we were doing as just an extra measure. But all of the research that's coming back is saying that those types of exposures leading to COVID are exceptionally rare, and especially so with younger students in school environments. So we've been able to do that extra level that we may not as we get more kids, but we're still doing more than adequate and certainly following all DPH orders.
Great segue. Thank you, Dr. Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Stowe, Ms. Liu, members of the board, Dr. Mohammed, thank you for the question. Yes, we do follow very strictly the Department of Public Health orders, in particular the reopening protocols, Appendix T1 and Appendix T2, which we update regularly on our TUSD.org website under COVID updates and dashboard updates. You'll also find the dashboard. At this point, we're hoping, and we do our best to update the dashboard on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do follow the contact tracing protocols as found in the most recent update of the decision pathways updated on 1/19/21. So obviously our initial concern is to ensure that if somebody's on the campus with symptoms, that person returns home to isolate as soon as possible, seeks the attention of their medical provider, and to quarantine the class. Following the information provided to those individuals, we then, once we complete with the contact tracing, go in and update the dashboard on our website.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make one more comment. I was just very happy to see all the protocols being followed as my visits. So thank you so much, and great work with the staff on site and teachers as well. So just thrilled to see everybody on campus. Thank you so much.
Dr. Gerson, you have your hand up?
Yes, I wanted to let the two new board members speak. I usually jump in. Thank you for all of the work that the cabinet, administration, teachers, staff, everyone has done in getting to this point. I thank you, Mrs. Liu, for sending that message out, finding out that DPH was doing another briefing last week at the end of the week. And so got to jump onto that. And even at that briefing, they were still quoting numbers higher than 25. And so it'll be interesting to see how we got 5 days below that number and that we were allowed to open, but I'm appreciative. Well, my son, since I'm the board member, the only board member with an elementary school student, I can tell you my son is through the roof excited that he was, that the county is going to permit him to go. My wife is very reticent and hesitant, but he is so happy to see his friends. And speaking of which, I want to address something that I think is also critically important that happened this evening. I've noticed a lot in this position over the last couple of years that oftentimes adults become debilitated when they see a situation and they don't quite know what to do, and they get together in groups or go to social media for emotional support. And I don't see parents always demonstrating advocacy. And we had 3 amazing 8th graders come and advocate tonight. And I really want to take a moment to thank them and congratulate them. Lily, Reese, Lucy, thank you so much for presenting this evening. I wish we had students who would advocate on a regular basis. It would be great if we heard from 2 or 3 students every single board meeting besides our student representative. And so I want to thank the 3 of you. And, I know Lily has written us letters and A+ job, beginning, middle, end. You've done a great job of advocating and presenting your position. Reese, I loved your cheating our way through to carry your whole point through the whole conversation. Wish I could have heard a little more detail. I think I know what's happening, but it would have been great, next time, develop that idea, because it was great that you had that theme. And Lucy, your passion came through. And so I just can't say enough appreciation for the 3 students who spoke tonight. I am obviously supportive of the district and what you guys have been doing. I agree with the TTA president that safety is number 1, and it is all of our responsibilities, top to bottom, and families included. It's all of our responsibilities. So thank you. I look forward to being there, dropping my son off, and so thank you for all the work you've done.
Thank you, Dr. Gerson. I agree with you in terms of those 3 students just now were wonderful. It would be great if parents and students, principals, if you guys are watching this, to encourage more students to come up and speak on issues that they care about, whether it be on the agenda, meaning it will be under an itemized topic, or just a general oral communication for unscheduled hearings. You are always free to do that. Just go on our website and make sure you follow the procedure correctly. And it'll be so wonderful and great practice for your leadership. Vice President Hunt.
Again, I concur with all of you regarding the students. It was wonderful to see. Just a couple of comments. Regarding the reopening, I think there'll be some challenges though. I think one of the suggestions I'd like to ask Dr. Stowe is that we send out a letter to our community, our good neighbor policy. Some of these schools with the reopening are going to experience massive traffic on their streets. Visiting some of these schools, I realized that there's only one gate opening, Dr. Kim, and that one gate opening is going to have to facilitate all 6 grades. So some schools don't have 5 gates. Some schools only have 1 gate. And so just witnessing that today, as I visited schools as well, I can name a couple schools that have 1 gate. And so that's going to be a severe challenge. And that 1 gate is on a small street. And so I think the neighbors are not going to be very happy. And so I think it'd be a good neighbor policy that we actually send out a letter to our community saying, hey, good news, we're bringing back our kids. I know that you'd enjoy the past couple of months with no kids on the street, but it's going to change very soon, that we're going to bring a lot of traffic. So just thank you for your patience and just bringing you awareness. I think it'd be a great gesture just to let them know what our plans are so that they are aware of that. And again, I think that because of the fact that some schools have only 1 gate, I think that we need to figure out how we can assist them more, just to figure out how we can make that process a lot smoother. This is why the idea of staggering the starts came up into mind. Just a correction. I think we were saying that we were surprised by this announcement today. I want to state that I don't think we were that surprised. Last week, Dr. Stowe and I actually had a conversation on February 9th, where I stated to him that our students look like they'll come back on February 21st, based upon the call that we had with Dr. Farrar. She did mention that most likely kids will come back next week. So this should not have been a surprise. I think that we were hoping, I think that the surprise was that, oh, it really did happen. But I think that the awareness of it, I want the community to know that we were not surprised. I think we were well prepared for this. That's why we already had this date in mind. And I think that you need to understand that it was not a surprise to us. But I think, again, I think that we need to do a better job of communicating to the community that this is our plan, just so that they're aware that on March 4th, that our kids will be coming back.
If I may jump in here, thank you, Mr. Hahn. You teed that up perfectly for me. One of the things that Tammy Kahn and I have been working on is the implementing that good neighbor letter. Actually, we started working on it a couple weeks ago and talked to the principals today, and it should go out to families within 500 feet of the schools, probably right the beginning of that following week. So it should hit right about the time, that same week when students come back. So that is something that will be going out in conjunction with the communication strategy plan.
Great, thank you, Dr. Stowe. And just to clarify, Tammy Kahn is our public information officer, and she's the one who sends you all the email and communications. Ms. Park, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. So if the teachers are able to start getting vaccinated on March 1st, do we have contingency plans for if they have to miss class in person as a result of perhaps experiencing some sort of effects from receiving vaccine doses? How are we accounting for what may happen once our teachers do start and our staff do start getting vaccinated? Another question was with the Valencia branch lab surveillance testing. I know a concern before was the cost, and I was wondering if the costs have changed or if there is other funding that's coming in for the surveillance testing, or if the scale of the surveillance testing is different to have changed our considerations in terms of the cost for the surveillance testing. And then finally, for the dashboard, I think we've been hearing quite often that people are either confused or feel misled by the user interface of our dashboard. So is there a way that we could take another look at our dashboard and benchmark against other school districts and how if they have a better user interface and that is clearer and people are not getting confused by different numbers that are up there? Is there a way that we could adapt our dashboard to better convey the current state of our case counts to the public?
I think the first two ones are mine there. So in terms of vaccination and recognizing that there can be effects to the vaccination, as we started setting up with the city of Torrance and the fire department, the original plan was, how do we do this over multiple days and multiple weeks in order to just take that into account? So the original plan, and again, I don't know how it will end up once vaccines are available. We're still working through details, but our original thought was something like a Thursday, Friday, or a Friday, Saturday, 2 weeks in a row to spread out the vaccinations amongst people just in case there are some reactions to it. I guess this is one of the very, very, very little, small, tiny silver linings to COVID, but we're kind of used to teaching from a distance that if there were potentially some people that were feeling mildly like they wouldn't want to show up, but they're still able to teach online, then obviously we could go forward in that regard. But we are taking into account both a staggering of shots and also an education program. The City of Torrance Fire Department does have a doctor that they have used to educate as they've rolled out vaccine to different populations, such as healthcare workers, what to expect, what the results of that are, and to plan accordingly. So as best we can, staggering and education for vaccinations. In terms of the Valencia branch lab, yes, cost is still an issue. The state has said that they will take the first stab at billing medical insurance for staff that go there, and that they will do the billing for Medi-Cal students that are eligible for Medi-Cal, but all the rest of it, they are making no guarantees of. So cost is still an issue for every school district. The last statistic that I saw was approximately 2% of school districts in California are looking at surveillance testing right now because of the cost. So I haven't seen what districts it names, but that was the number. So that would mean something like 20 to 25 districts around the state surveillance testing, again, because of the cost. So it's just not something that's being done until the state either provides the mechanism to take care of that or mandates it, and then we have to figure out how to pay for it. But neither of those last two are in place just yet.
And back to the dashboard, I have not heard those concerns about that not being accurate or the interface not being user friendly. We did utilize other districts around that in developing that. So I'm happy to ask Tammy Khan to look at it again, maybe with Heidi, our district nurse, and see if there's something else that needs to be added.
Yeah, I think it's like the specific comment that was made today is that the numbers in the table don't seem to match the numbers sort of if you scroll down, and maybe it's like the information is all accurate, but the way, like if certain phrases were bolded to really be able to make different figures distinct, because right now the information can all be accurate, right? But if it's not easily accessible to people, then they can still feel like it's not very useful, and we want the dashboard to be as useful as possible. And so I think it's not just the comment that was made today. I feel like we've received other communications about the dashboard. Perhaps people are not finding as much utility from it as we would like. So that's why I made that comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Park. Dr. Mohammed?
Thank you so much, President Liu. Just to clarify, Dr. Butler, this question might be for you regarding vaccinations and our collaboration with the city and the fire department. The March 1st, whatever that tentative date is, that would also include classified staff in addition to teachers, correct?
Well, certainly in the sense of as we have looked at it, if we have to triage, if we have to decide just on a certain number of staff getting a vaccine, if it's not available for everyone right out of the gate, obviously it's the teachers and the staff that are working directly with students that we would want to make sure get 2 shots as soon as possible. So we have definitely thought about a triage with that, and would proceed accordingly. So it can be both classified and certificated, but the key is, are you working with kids?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, our classified staff definitely been at the sites. They're really the front lines, whether it be our food service workers or drivers or custodial staff, and we just want to make sure that they're also equally involved and part of the vaccination process, whatever that is, because they're also an equal part of our community in terms of making sure that keeping our campuses safe.
Absolutely. As I shared with CSEA 19 during our negotiations last week, I'm classified as well. I'm in PERS, I'm not in STIRS. I've done some teaching, but I'm right there with you, and we totally keep our classified staff definitely front of mind. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you all very much, cabinet members. I know you guys have worked so hard in the last 10 months or so, and you continue to work so hard to deal with a myriad of issues in the next 2 weeks before we open up 3rd, 4th, and 5th on March 4th. So thank you in advance again. Dr. Stowe, do you feel like you have enough of a direction of how we're about the school reopening?
Yes, absolutely. We definitely appreciate the support of the board, the community. I know the principals and site staff are working very hard and awaiting confirmation of the state. So thank you for that.
Great, thank you. Ms. Park?
I just wanted to also make sure that we're communicating to the public why we are waiting the 2 weeks. So what is the purpose of that time period instead of today or tomorrow? Because there is reasoning behind this. I was hoping that you could explain that to our community.
Well, I mean, it's all of the things that we talked about, right? The details that need to be taken care of at the sites, and again, Dr. Kim went through a lot of the protocols at the sites. I mean, schools doing parent nights next week to talk to the parents. Schools creating videos for parents and students so that they know how to come on campus and what that looks like when they get there, and being able to really make sure that when students step on that campus in 2 weeks, that they feel like they've been there before, and that the teachers are ready. They've got everything in their room that they need, the supplies, the PPE, all of that work. So if you think back to in November 9th is when the board gave direction to open TK and K. And we didn't open until December 14th. So almost 5 weeks later. And then it was another, separating out the winter break, it was another 2 weeks until we brought back our first grade. And then obviously 2nd grade got delayed. And so, we learned a lot through that process and that preparation, and we were able to do it right and do it safely, and everybody benefited. And so I think for all of the reasons that we shared tonight, I hope that the community understands this is not just flipping on the lights in a classroom and students come in. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are working to make this happen, and it is it's an extraordinary task that we've been able to do this. And I would just like to highlight that there are 80 districts in the county of Los Angeles, 80 school districts. And as last count, there are only 10 of them that physically have students on campus in the way that we do. And so the fact that we are one of the leaders in the county, and we are doing it right, we're doing it safely, I think is a testament to all of the work and all of the preparation that's gone into it, beginning back in May when we convened the task force as a representative group. We've gone through it. We've very thorough process. Really, everybody has stepped up and been a leader, and it's truly been an honor to be able to work with all of these folks who are doing everything they can to make sure that we get students back on campus safely for as much activity as is possible.
Okay, great. Is there any other questions or discussion from our board members? I shall close the discussion. Can I have a motion to close our discussion?
I'll move that we close the discussion.
Second.
Great. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous, so we can move on to item number 10.3, California School Board Association Delegate Assembly Election Ballot. Superintendent Stowe, would you like to say the background of this and what this is about?
Actually, I think I'd like Dr. Gerson to speak because he's actually one of the representatives that you're not voting on tonight, but he is on this this committee. So maybe he can take it. And then remember, President Liu, we need to do a roll call vote on this one when we get to that point.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Stowe and Mrs. Liu. We represent, well, we are in the 24th region of the California School Boards Association. Our region has 14 representatives. Different areas and regions have different numbers, obviously. Our region is very compact, has a lot more people to the surface area. So we get a lot more representatives. So there are 14 positions. Currently 12 are elected and 2 are appointed. The last time we did this, I had put my name in and you supported me. And now we have 6 new people. 2 of them are incumbents, the others are new, and they would like to do their 2-year term on the assembly. And so I've been through all of the stuff that they've submitted. They are all qualified school board members, and I see no reason that we should not support any of them. We should support all of them with our vote. There's 6 openings, and there are 6 names on the list, so there really isn't anything for us to discuss as far as one versus another and filling that final spot. And I don't know if there are any questions.
Doesn't look like there's any questions.
Then I'm going to put a motion forth that we vote in favor of all 6 of these candidates to join the delegate assembly for the California School Boards Association.
We have a motion. We need a second. I'll second it. And so all in favor of this motion to have those 6 candidates be our choice from this school district?
Mrs. Liu, I'll do roll call vote if that's okay.
That's right.
All right.
Yes, that's okay.
Dr. Muhammad?
Yes.
Ms. Park?
Aye.
Dr. Gerson?
Aye.
Mr. Han?
Aye.
And Mrs. Liu?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Thank you.
The motion passes. We're moving on to item number 11, consent agenda. It goes from item number 12 all the way down to 18. And hold on a second. Let me read this blur. Approval of consent agenda as a whole. All matters listed on the consent agenda, which are general functions consent through administrative services, bond consent, are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one vote. There's no discussion of consent calendar items unless members of the governing board, public, or staff request that specific item be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Is there anyone who wished to take out any of the items from consent agenda? If no one has any, if no one's pulling anything out, I can entertain a motion to approve all the matters.
So moved, all matters, all consent items.
I second.
Okay. This one does not need a roll call vote, so
Yes,
all in favor?
I'll roll call this one
You
too.
want to do that? Okay, you can do that.
All right, Dr. Mohammed,
Aye.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Dr. Gerson,
Aye.
Mr. Han,
Aye.
and Ms. Liu.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought that we don't need to do a roll call vote for consent calendar.
No, in the virtual meetings, we do have in our policy that that we do need to do roll call vote on these as well as discussion action.
I see. Thank you for that clarification. Item number 19.1 is our general board calendar. 20 is comments from members of the Board of Education. First, we will go to 20.1, report from the board representative to the Southern California Regional Occupational Center. Mr. Han?
Just an update. We have our meeting this Thursday again. So we'll be discussing some items there. Again, one of the big items, again, to try to figure out how we can secure funding for the school is probably our biggest agenda item. But other than that, our meeting is just Thursday.
Thank you, Vice President Han. And now 20.2, CSBA delegate report from Dr. Gerson.
Thank you, Mrs. Liu. So in COVID time, unfortunately, the delegate assembly doesn't get to meet, but we've been doing some work behind the scenes and meeting virtually. The most recent thing that that we've been asked to do is go through the CSBA policy platform. And of course, CSBA stands for the California School Boards Association. So the policy platform was put together by a committee and then sent to all of the delegates to evaluate it, send feedback, and be sent back to committee for more work. So they divide it into pillars, levers, and I don't know what you call the sub-levers or subcategories, but I tried to pick, I'm still getting to know the two new board members, but I tried to pick something in the policy platform that kind of meets what everybody, because each of us kind of have given our own points as far as what's important to us. So I tried to pick out one point for each board member, and hopefully I showed that all of us collectively are also represented in the CSBA policy platform that will lead the advocacy that we're going to do. So pillar number 1 is strength of local government. There are 4 pillars: local authority and flexibility, one system of public schools, strong and coherent local governance, and engaged public. And in the third lever, 1.3.1 is equitable standing with other governing agencies. That school boards should be treated equitably relative to other local governing agencies. They should have input and influence into local decisions that impact schools, especially in local planning issues. And it continues. This is a conversation that we've had. The second one is, the second pillar is secure and fair funding. There are 3 levers: full and fair funding, stable funding, and local flexibility. The third pillar is improve conditions of children, integrated student services, safe and supportive school environments, family and community role in improving conditions of children. The first and second levers, I think, apply. Let me pull this up. I think Ms. Park will find this one interesting. 3.1, integrated student services. Addressing the conditions that impact students is not the sole responsibility of schools. The needs of all students must be identified and comprehensively addressed through the coordinated and collective efforts of schools and other agencies, institutions, and organizations, each held to a high standard of accountability, including protection of student privacy. So I thought of you when I read that one. In 3.2, 3.2.2 is student health and well-being. Mrs. Liu, you have repeatedly talked about the importance of that. And so as it says, all students benefit from coordinated programs and support that promote student wellness. In pillar number 4, ensure achievement for all, there are 5 levers: an aligned educational system, rich and challenging local curricula, student-centered teaching and learning, preparing effective teachers, family and community role in promoting student achievement. So as we get into 4, the first one that I pulled, this is for you, Dr. Mohammed. I think it goes along even with this evening's discussion. 4.4.5 discusses all employees. It is credentialed and classified play an important role in providing students with a safe and effective learning environment. Each employee in the system should have appropriate orientation, training, supervision, evaluation, and support. And Mr. Hahn, for you, 4.5.2 community partnerships, especially with your work with SoCal Rock. And it talks about the collaboration and partnerships with businesses, local government agencies, institutions of higher education, and other organizations can provide community service and service learning activities, raise public awareness of educational needs in the community, and bring additional resources and programs to school sites. So I think that each of us and our interests are also represented in CSBA's policy platform. So that's a brief summary.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. Gerson. I'm glad we have you, a delegate, on our board. We have our own. Okay, now we're going to move on to general comments from the board, item 20.3. We can start with Vice President, Mr. Hahn.
So obviously, we have decided to bring back our 3rd or 5th grade, and obviously all our elementary kids will be back. So I want to first express my gratitude again to everyone that makes this possible. So thank you for all your leadership. One of the things I realized today in my visitations with schools is that the principals have been extremely flexible. And so thank you all the principals for being so flexible, just trying to adjust, trying to make things happen. And so we're grateful not only for the principals, from the classified to the certified staff. It's been excellent. This is why we are 10 of 80 schools, Dr. Stowe, that have done this, and we've done it well. And that's why we've always had full confidence. Again, from the very beginning this year, I never felt like we should have shut down in the first place. Like I said, the numbers have always been arbitrary to me. I don't know how we shut down and all of a sudden we go from 8 per 100,000 to 25 per 100,000. The numbers all over the place, and I understand that. And so, but now that the students are back, I want to ask President Liu and our fellow board members that I think it's time for us to come together as a board in our boardroom. I think that we need to lead by leadership. I think that if we're going to bring our students back, I think it's time for us to come together. I understand that we're going to remodel the boardroom, but I think that we can maybe move the boardroom so that we can have our board meetings in person. I think that we need to be able to lead by example. I think that if we're going to send our kids back, our teachers back, I think that we as a board can come together as cabinet, come together in a room to have these discussions. So I would like to ask in our next board meeting that this becomes an agenda item, that we will be able to at least discuss this openly and to see whether or not we can come back together as a board. I think it's time. I think that, restaurants are now have back outdoor. I think that the numbers are decreasing. And again, we're bringing our K-5 back. And so I think for confidence, for leadership, I think it's important for us to come together and be together in person as a board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hahn. We can work on that this week to go over the technicalities of what needs to be on the agenda, and it will go on the agenda next month. Next general comments, Dr. Gerson.
Thank you. I do agree with Mr. Hahn on one thing, that the numbers have been, it seemed very arbitrary, that we didn't understand why we were even changing from 14-day averages to 7-day averages. And so it completely changed metrics when they changed the color coding system. And I agree, I don't know where the 7 came from. I don't know where the 25 came from. We've never been given the formula that shows when, what are they using, that when this virus transmission, at what point does it become out of their control? So it's been difficult. And it's also helped in our meetings, and as even Dr. Ferrer has helped illuminate, that even she doesn't think that 7 per 100,000 is an accurate marker for when secondary schools should come back. And so for parents who are looking for a piece of advocacy that they can do is pressing back upon the California Department of Public Health, and at the state level going, what is actually a fair number to judge when secondary schools can return. And so that's something that they can discuss at the state level, because the county is aligning more with the state. They have been the most restrictive in the nation. They have, but we've had a higher case count than at least any other county in California. And so, I've watched them juggle. I've watched them try and grab hold of this. But even our county public health is telling us that 7 per 100,000, that red tier, is not an accurate measure for when secondary schools could come back. They did not suggest what a number could be, of course. I will leave that for future public debate. But the move last board meeting to fund the bipolar ionization system, I think that needs more public notice. I can't wait to hear the timeline for completion on that. I think that is going to be a huge step that is going to make our secondary classrooms safer, and will help us also take that big leap toward being able to operate safely in this pandemic. So I also want to echo my appreciation to everyone who has made it this far. I did not realize that only 10 of the 80 school districts in the county have gone to the degree that we have. It doesn't surprise me. Now all of the experts who are coming out, I passed on an article from the Journal of the American Medical Association to Cabinet and to parents supporting what we have been done, and the CDC, of course, has come out in support of what we have been doing. But where that data came from is from all of the people who are like-minded, like the people in Torrance who work so hard to create a system where the data can prove that that we can operate safely. And so, to Mr. Hahn's point, I am sending my own son on March 1st to class. Been waiting for this day, and we are there. And that I do trust in the system that Dr. Stowe and everyone in Torrance Unified has created, and that we as a family are also a part of that safety, and that that we are very supportive and very appreciative of the work that you've done. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you for the time, President Liu.
Thank you, Dr. Gerson. And just to clarify for more information for everyone's notice, of the 10 school districts in LA County that are currently open in a blended or hybrid model, 6 of the 10 are right here in the South Bay, the 6 school district that's composed of the South Bay area. So that's pretty interesting when I learned that. Ms. Park, do you have any general comments?
Yes. I wanted to, as a former student of Glenn Comita for Cashmere Middle School Orchestra, I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Comita again, and also just wanted to emphasize the importance of the arts. I know that it was such an instrumental being able to participate in orchestra, in dance, in all of our artistic courses and extracurriculars was incredibly important for me to explore my passions and identity and have an outlet for creative expression. So I hope that we continue to support the arts in our schools, and hopefully can even provide more opportunities for our students to engage in these really fruitful opportunities to express themselves. And I also wanted to, I recognize the irony of this, pushing back on Mr. Hahn's comments as I'm sitting in the boardroom, but I do think that this should be an individual decision. I think that when it comes to having instruction back in school, there's a clear reasoning behind it. It's that learning is negatively impacted. When it comes to the procedures of running a board meeting, I don't think it is significantly impacted by it being virtual as opposed to in person. I think that if it's going to be conducted on Zoom regardless, that this hybrid model of having people in person for the board meetings, it doesn't make sense to me. And if the message to the public is anything, I think it should be to stay home and not gather, and if there isn't a valid reason to do so. And so I would say that, again, I recognize the irony as I'm sitting here, but I do think that it needs to be an individual decision. And I don't think that deciding to bring the cabinet and all the board members together into this fairly small room is serves the purpose of communicating the message that we want to the public, or nor does it improve our ability to facilitate and hold these meetings. So I just wanted to say that.
Great, thank you, Ms. Park. Dr. Mohammed, do you have any general comments?
Yes, thank you so much, President Liu. I just would like to say that, I look forward to visiting more sites over the next few weeks. And also, earlier in the month, I attended the budget advisory committee, and look forward to doing that every month. So thank you, Dr. Butler, for that. It was a great session that we had earlier in the month. Aside from that, just kudos to everybody. Keep up the great work, and look forward to seeing more students back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. And my orals will be as with tradition here. Sometimes we recognize certain items in the consent calendar. And this month, there is a resolution proclaiming March 2021 to be Arts Education Month. So that follows along the line of what Ms. Park was referencing. We also have another resolution proclaiming the same month, this month, March, as Music in Our Schools Month. So we have two arts there. That's great. And also the last resolution we have at this meeting is the National Women's History Month. And with that, I believe we are done. I can entertain a motion to adjourn to the next meeting. Is there anyone who likes to move?
Move to adjourn.
I need a second before we can get out of here.
I second that motion.
Great, thank you, Ms. Park. All in favor, raise your hand.
You want a
and
roll
say
call? Aye.
I think, yeah, we just
Aye.
need to raise our hand. Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Motion.
Good night.
Meeting adjourned. Good night.
Good night, guys.